Welcome back to the Super Not Funny Show Reviews. And today I'm going to be reviewing Foundation Season 2, Episode 1. It's entitled In Seldon's Shadow, and it's streaming on Apple TV. So, what did I think about it, and should you be watching? Before we get into the review, get down there, hit like on this video. Foundation returns in all its sci-fi glory to follow up on the end of the previous season where we saw the protagonist Gaal Dornick and her daughter, apparently, Salvor Hardin, both stranded on Synax. And also, it's, hundreds of years later, apparently, a big time jump, 176 years, I believe. And in that time, the Foundation has gotten bigger according to Harry Seldon's plan, but also the Empire has shrunk a bit and gotten a lot more, shall we say, suspicious about change, especially because in the previous season we saw that a terrorist plot has essentially, sort of contaminated or compromised the genetic dynasty of the Cleons, Brother Day, Dawn, Day, and Dusk. It contaminated the original stock, so actually going forward, the clones have become further apart from the original. And that's what we find in this 176 years later. We are now on Cleon the 17th, who is Brother Day, and instead of trying to clone, instead is trying to potentially marry a queen of a large confederation within the Empire, and also getting some word about the Foundation and what it's up to. Which, you know what, we don't even really get to see that in this episode. Instead, what we see is Gaal Dornick, who's back on her home planet, which apparently by this time is basically abandoned. I guess it's just a big water world, but nobody really on it. And also Salvor Hardin, who in the previous season had come to look for her. And they find each other, and it's an awkward, kind of a meeting between a mother who never raised her own child and a daughter who's calls mother and father to other people who surely by now are long dead. And they're need to get off the planet. But we also, underneath all that, have Harry Seldon, who at least we know is physically dead, but his consciousness or his mind has been copied into, sort of like, I guess, a Ghost in the Machine. Of course, we know that back on, Terminus, where he showed himself during a crisis event, but now we find that actually he's imprisoned in another place. And at the end of that last season, he and Gaal had a pretty big fight and falling out, and so the trust is not there at all. But we through all this episode, which is, by the way, if you watch this show and you're saying, "I've read the books, where the hell was any of this?" None of it's in the books. All of this stuff that Gaal Dornick is a figure of some note in the prequel to the Foundation series, but within the series itself, not a factor. Just a kind of a footnote. Salvor Hardin is a totally different person. This is very much an inspired by, not a based on. It's a based on, but it's very much just an inspired by. And so, if you're looking for book fidelity, forget that. If you watch the first season, you should know better. So, with that being said, I thought this episode was pretty interesting. I think I enjoyed more what was going on back in the Empire with the Cleons and their whole, maintaining power on a, an empire that's even for them starting to see the strain and the cracks in the edifice, if you will. And there's some really cool action bits in this, the things you never have seen in the book. A lot of cool action in this. Lee Pace is ridiculously good looking in this. Like it's like this dude is like in way too good a shape. I think he's in his early 40s. Guys, like he worked out hard for this one scene where he's butt naked and kicking ass. And also there's this weird sexual relationship he's got with his robot advisor Demerzel. Very very strange. And also, like, if you are a fan of Asimov, it's quite strange to see how no one really knows about robots, but the people that work around Cleon know that Demerzel is a robot, and that seems to be perfectly fine. In the books that wasn't the case. Nobody even knew robots still existed. So, sort of seeing that whole dynamic where they're trying to keep a hold of the empire, and potentially by having a queen for Cleon after how many hundreds of years of just Cleon after Cleon after Cleon. That does produce an interesting wrinkle, and also they're getting wind of what the Foundation is up to, and apparently the Foundation is, as in the books, is doing what it did in the where it spreads its influence through religion, and also the people on Terminus note that Harry Seldon's crisis, his chamber is awakening again. So they're not, they don't know what to expect. They just know something's coming up. And that's also why Gaal and, Salvor have to get off the Synax. And, there's a fun little, action bit where they're underwater and having to, basically get the ship out before a huge hurricane comes. And, just kind of a bonding moment between the mother and daughter who don't really know each other, like I said. And then that leads, of course, to Harry, who's imprisoned within the Prime Radiant, which is, let's just call it a magic box. Call it what it is. It's a magic box. Magic math box that only so many people understand, Gaal being one of them. But we also see within the Prime Radiant, with Harry's sort of, his memories are sort of trapped there. We also see that, he had a wife, and we got to see his wife, and the other entity, the box itself, sort of embodies. Within there is made up of several people, and he's been trapped in there, but he's able to get out of there in a very fun little bit of a callback to his childhood at Dornick. He was very smart in figuring out how to see 3 dimensions within 4 dimensions within 3 dimensions and so forth. Fun little bit of physics, just to kind of show, Harry's really smart. But now, once he's out, now there's a reckoning between him and Gaal that's coming up, especially because apparently, Gaal she sort of figures out that because she did the wrong thing. The actions of individuals can be predicted by psychohistory, because she kind of did the wrong thing, or at least the man she was in love with, Rach, he did the wrong thing and sent her off course. And instead of leading the Foundation like she was supposed to, she's instead been in cryo sleep and whatever. And now, more, instead of one crisis event that leads to a long tale of growth or whatever for the Foundation, instead there's dozens of them, and if any one of them fails, the plan fails. So just adding some tension, no pressure whatsoever. Just have to face down the might of the Empire, which is still huge and actually quite formidable. And also dealing with the barbarian kingdoms around the Foundation. So like I said, no pressure. So anyway, I think it was pretty good episode. Not the greatest. I think the problem I had with it is maybe because the distance between the last season, which I know was just a year ago, but just not really remembering some of the things that were going on and being a little bit lost. But they didn't try to throw too much in there on top of you. They did a good recap, so I wasn't totally lost. I know it's a setup episode, so I mean, for that, I think it was pretty good to get me back into the game. So Anyway, those are my thoughts on this episode. What do you guys think about the first episode of this season? And what do you think about what I had to say? Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel and helps more people to see these videos. All right, thanks for joining me. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about the second episode of Foundation. Until then, I've been Mo, your comment extraordinaire on all things pop culture, and I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.